And joining me now with more is Lisa Braganca, current attorney and owner of Braganca Law, as well as a former SEC branch chief. Lisa, it's great to have you on the show today. And with this change of the guard on tap in the new year, what are your expectations for the future of the SEC?
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Kristen. And the biggest change is going to be in crypto policy and enforcement. The SEC has spent the last 4 years under Gary Gensler bringing enforcement cases against large entities and small that have not engaged in any fraud. They are simply unregistered broker dealers, according to the SEC, or involved in unregistered offerings. And that is all based on the SEC's contention that almost every digital asset is a security. So the big change is going to be a shift in that policy. And frankly, you know, a willingness from the SEC standpoint to encourage Congress and also to, on its own part, develop specific regulations and a regulatory policy that addresses the character of digital assets, which is very different from traditional securities.
Lisa, I think a big question that a lot of people have is how many ETFs, for instance, in the cryptocurrency space, could we see approved under this agency led by Paul Atkins, of course, the president-elect's pick, whether it's a Solana ETF, perhaps even an XRP ETF?
I think there will be a huge number of ETFs approved. Paul Atkins' approach is that there should not be such a great deal of regulatory oversight. So whereas you saw under Gary Gensler's SEC a hesitancy to approve crypto ETFs, I think under the new administration, you'll see a great deal of approval and no delays in approving additional ETFs. And then investors will make their own decision on what they wish to buy in terms of those various offerings.
Well, sticking with the theme of cryptocurrency, Lisa, I think some people are also wondering what cryptocurrency, specifically in the stablecoin market, might look like with a new SEC chair. Specifically, we had seen, for instance, the Ripple stablecoin available for trade just yesterday.
We're going to see a great deal of variance offered. And again, you know, Paul Atkins' approach is let the marketplace decide what should succeed and what should fail, not regulators. He's very much a free market person. He quotes, you know, Friedrich Hayek and is very much an advocate of, you know, a libertarian sort of approach. That said, he is still a believer in the fundamental mission of the SEC. He's not an SEC dismantler or somebody who believes that there should be no regulation. He is an advocate of the enforcement division doing its investigations and bringing enforcement actions for fraud. He was a big advocate of penny stock fraud investigations and enforcement cases. So he is not the type of person who is going to sweep away the entire SEC or possibly even, you know, pare it down to a shadow of its current state.
ESG, I think, also something in focus, as is cybersecurity. Lisa, let's start with ESG and what we might anticipate in terms of disclosures or even really requirements on companies going forward.
That is another area, ESG, where he is likely to sweep away all of the requirements for disclosures. He is not a believer in ESG. Back when he was at the SEC, it was just, social engineering from his perspective. But he is not a fan. He is very likely to just, from the get-go, have the staff just stand down on all investigations, on enforcement, and any ESG initiatives.
And what does Paul Atkins mean for cybersecurity when it comes to potential breaches that companies might witness?
This is another area where there will be a significant shift. The SEC has been very aggressive in going after companies for not disclosing immediately, almost, within days, a cybersecurity breach. And that has been excessively burdensome because it takes time to understand and to know what you even would disclose publicly or to your investors about a breach. These are things that develop, very quickly, but you requires significant investigation, and that's not something that the SEC has really allowed for. They have a rule that says you have to disclose within 4 days, and that's an incredibly short period of time. And just to note, the SEC had its own cybersecurity breach, and that wasn't disclosed for a long, long time. So, the SEC itself needed time to investigate and understand what the implications were before disclosing. That should apply to the private sector too.
Former SEC Enforcement Branch Chief Lisa Braganca. Lisa, thank you so much for joining, and I hope you'll come back again.
Thank you. Thanks so much.